The clip you're about to watch features a very interesting discussion with Cliff and a student who are arguing if determinism is true. This student believes every single word he says or Cliff says is actually determined, but he doesn't live his life that way. Okay, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy this video.
You have to believe in determinism.
I do.
Good, bravo, well done.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good.
I believe in
Smack.
that viewpoint.
Smack. Why'd you hit her, Cliff? Because I had to. It was determined that I hit her.
It's not I had to.
Oh, yes, it is if you believe in determinism.
It's not I had to, it happened.
Oh, it happened.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
baloney.
What do you mean baloney?
Determinism means it has been determined that I hit her.
Yes, correct. Well,
Thank you.
yes,
That's
yes.
right, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, and my point is, if I hit her, turn to you and you ask me, why'd you hit her? And I say, because I had to. It was determined. You know I'm lying through my teeth, I hope.
well,
That's not at all
That's
what
not what
determinism
yeah,
to
yeah.
the extent that
Determinism means it has been determined. Determinism means I don't have a choice. It's been determined. Let's be honest with our language, guys.
I'm being honest.
No, you're not.
Yes, I completely am. I said I believe in determinism. If you hit her, it wasn't. There's nothing of you that makes it your fault. There is no your fault.
Good.
It's just inputs and outputs.
Good.
How you're genetic. I
Yeah.
fully believe in determinism. I'm not lying.
But you can't live it out.
Yes, I can.
If
Every
I
word
smack
that's coming
her,
out of my mouth
are you going to
has
hold
been
that me
decided.
responsible for smacking her or not?
What do you mean?
Are you going to say,
There
Cliff,
is no
it
you.
was wrong? There's no, good. I like
I
you.
yes,
Very
I'm
good. There's no
consistent. I know
you.
it's like you.
And I would insist you are wrong, and it's proven by you how you live your life.
No.
Hey, this woman says I love you, and you say, I understand, you have to love me. You don't live that way, man. And if I smack her, you're not going to say, oh, Cliff, you had to smack her. And if I'm racist, you're not going to say,
Well,
oh,
using
Cliff,
the
I
word-
understand. You have to be racist.
No, that's the worst mischaracterization. It's inputs and outputs that create racist people. That's the way to characterize it.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So all my white racist friends have input and output,
Yes.
and they just have to do what they're determined to do.
Have to do it. It just comes to.
Oh, come on now.
Inputs and outputs.
Determinism means
is what it
there's
means.
no you just do what you're programmed to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
You're
Just
doing
be
what you're supposed to
consistent.
do.
And I'm standing here saying, my white racist friends, I got to look them in the face and say, you're wrong, and you better change your behavior.
And maybe that will be an input that changes their behavior. And that input and you saying that comes from things that happened to you. And things that happened to you come from other inputs and outputs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Determinism.
Well, I don't agree with you because
I
I
know,
don't
we
think.
disagree.
Exactly.
It's okay.
I don't think that my behavior is determined by my bad potty training from my mom and dad. I
It is.
insist.
It's one of your inputs.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
My
is.
behavior is a result of my free choice.
Okay, quick question.
I disagree.
Wait,
Don't interrupt. We're with him, and we'll get to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
no, wait,
I mean-
I'm building off of his.
No, forget it. He's talking. Go ahead.
I completely disagree. I think every word that's coming out of my mouth,
Yes.
all this vocabulary, like
Right.
everything I know,
Right.
comes from inputs and outputs. All of my beliefs come from inputs and outputs.
Yeah.
I disagree with you because of inputs and outputs. If I was in your situation and I grew up like you, I had the exact same genetics, I would be standing there like you, and you would be standing here like me.
Okay.
Inputs and outputs.
So yes, determinism possibly is right. But if a dude, all right, come here, you dude with a beard. Let me hear a sec. All right. So this guy comes around a corner with a stack of books under his arm. I haul back, smack him as hard as I can. I'm hauled into a court of law. I stand before a judge, and the judge says, hey, Cliff, why on earth did you go up and smack this guy as hard as you can? I say, it's very simple, Your Honor. I grew up with an abusive father. And my abusive father had a little balding, gray hair like this. And whenever he would abuse me, he would take a big book and slam me over the head. And this dude just so reminded me of my abusive father that I had to haul back and hit him.
Yes.
The judge will say,
Good
Cliff, I'm
example.
really sorry that you had that kind of abusive father.
Yes.
But you are still responsible for hauling back and punching him.
Yes.
The legal system in the United States, I am glad, is based not on determinism, it is based on the free will that we all have, which means we are responsible for what we do.
I don't think that, like, I think that in general, people who were abused, do you agree, tend to abuse more in the future. Do you disagree with that? One
I
influence
don't think
leads
that a
to
person who's
similar-
been abused has to be an
They don't-
abuser.
They don't have to because there are other inputs and outputs. But if someone is abused, it seems like in general they tend to abuse more.
Does
Do you disagree
anybody
with
love
that?
you?
I really hope so.
Well, then if you hope so, it means you value love, right?
Well, yeah, but I would disagree with what love is when you say it.
And I respect your intellectual consistency. I respect it highly. You're living it out. And I think it's scary.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because it means that I am not responsible for what I do. What I do has been determined.
I don't want to like make it political, but like things that, like for example, structural racism, like stuff that has happened in the past leads to things in the future.
Right.
This is where these ideas come from.
Yeah.
Things that happen in the past affect what happens in the future.
Yeah.
Right? And if you take all the inputs and outputs of the world that happened in the past, that is why we are where we are today, and what is happening the way it is today.
Okay.
That's the idea.
What this guy is saying is just, it's hurting my head. It's absolutely nonsense because free will is the ability to do otherwise. So you could do the action in front of you and you could also choose not to do the action in front of you. That is the point Cliffe is trying to make about the abuser. He said, oh, if you've been abused as a child, then that input is going to make you abuse someone else as an adult. Cliffe is trying to tell him, if that is determined and you have no other choice, then you can't hold that person accountable. He's consistent that he's saying, I believe these things, but when he's facing reality, he can't live it out. And thank God we don't live in such a society. We believe what this guy is believing.
I disagree.
Okay, yeah.
You know why? I respect Harriet Tubman. I respect Gandhi. I respect Mother Teresa. Well, why, Cliff? Why do you respect those people? Because obviously they didn't have to do what they did. Instead, they chose to contradict their culture. They chose to contradict their upbringing. And they chose to fight the caste system, to fight slavery at the cost of their lives.
Yes.
That's why I respect them. I don't respect them because they had to do what they did. And I don't excuse a racist because you grew up in a racist environment, and so therefore you have to hate people of different ethnic heritages. Baloney. You don't have to hate anybody. You choose to hate, you choose to love. You choose to forgive, or you choose to stick it to a person who's hurt you. That's my experience of reality, guys. Now, if your experience is different, so be it. But I think you're lying to yourself and you're lying to me. You know very well that you respect Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. Why? Because they contradicted their culture. They contradicted their environment. They followed their conscience instead of following the status quo. Now, if you don't respect those people for that reason, fine. Tell me why you respect them. Well, I don't respect them, Cliff. Well, there would be another disagreement that you and I would have.
You know what this debate reminds me? It reminds me of what Paul said in Romans chapter 1, where he says, professing they have become wise, they have become fools. And that is what we see in our day and age, because do you know what's the greatest gift that God gave to us humans? Free will. And it makes sense that in the last days, Satan, the Antichrist, he will work on taking that gift away, taking the greatest gift that God has given us, the freedom to make choices. You know, we could choose to follow him, not to follow him. We could choose to love, to hate. And sadly, we see this generation denying this beautiful gift. They're so out of touch with reality. Just by our experience, we know it to be a lie. Cliffe tried to point that out to him so many times in this discussion and he doesn't see it. If you are just determined, if you are just a result of inputs and outputs, it doesn't make sense to hold the racist accountable, the rapist accountable. Sam Harris says in his book, A Famous Atheist, he says that free will is an illusion. Well, if free will is just an illusion, then why write a book to begin with to try to persuade anyone in your no free will defense? If the person reading your book is just determined, what's the point? Why try it? Same thing with the student. Why is he there? Why is he trying to argue with Cliffe? It makes no sense. Free will is just an illusion. Cliffe is determined to say those things he's determined to say. Why try to persuade him? You know, why hope for someone to love you? If the person in front of you just loves you because based on inputs and outputs, they're not doing anything out of their own choice. And that's the beauty of love. You could choose to do otherwise. You could go choose to do whatever selfish things you want to do for yourself and not serve the person in front of you. That's the beauty when a person does something for you and they could have done otherwise. For example, instead of forgiving you, they could have hated you. That's why you feel that grace in your heart because of free will. That's the greatest gift God has given us. So it's so sad to see how out of touch of reality we've become. If you enjoyed this video, please, you have the free will to subscribe and like my video and follow my channel. You could not, but I appreciate it if you do. And as always, stay standing firm in faith, pursuing truth, and standing firm in the one who's truth himself, our great Lord Jesus Christ.